Hello, I'm Heather Woodman, and welcome again to the Unleashing the Authentic Artist Summit. Here, as you know, we are breaking down barriers that are blocking your greatness so you can live authentically, passionately, purposefully, and courageously. My guest today is Bodhi Simpson, and she does just that. She's amazing. She is an art therapist, and she is no stranger to these things, how to really break down those barriers so you can live your best life. So while she's going to actually take us through a little exercise at the end. So grab a paper, pencil, any sort of art piece that you art tools, right, Bodhi, that you may need. Welcome, Bodhi. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather. I'm happy to be here.
So give us a little bit of background. Who are you and where have you come from and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm an art therapist and I am in Maine. And what do I do? So actually what led me to becoming an art therapist is that I always express myself comfortably through creating. And it wasn't so much that I thought I was a good artist, it was just that I enjoyed it. And so kind of fast forward when I was looking to go to college to become a therapist, I kind of remembered that, you know, it might be nice to have some other tools to help people learn more about themselves. And at that point, I'd never even heard of the field of art therapy. And so I was kind of researching different programs and I stumbled upon something called clinical art therapy. And I thought, what the heck is that? So I checked into it, and it's a combination of psychology and human development and creative expression. And so what I learned is that, you know, since the beginning of time, as humans, we all have this innate desire to create. And so I chose this path because it really felt like it was a universal way to help people learn more about themselves. And so really what happened is I was able to become what I needed when I was younger, when I was creating. I didn't have anybody to help me understand how what I was creating reflected something back about me. So like our art becomes a mirror that we can learn from. We can see the energy and the patterns creating our lives. And so my job is I help people to understand what their patterns are. So I don't interpret art, but I kind of join with you to help you understand. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I think it's really powerful as well, because oftentimes we do become who we needed at a given time.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I needed somebody at one point. And I was like, there isn't. Okay, so how can I be that for somebody else? And so I love that. And then using the art as expression, but as an expression of your inner self. Yeah, I had the opportunity last year to be a long-term substitute teacher for an art class from preschool to 8th grade. And these 8th graders, their artistic abilities like blew me out of the water. But the ability day after day to dive in and just create was so therapeutic for me. Loved it.
Definitely.
So yeah, oh, it's awesome.
I think kids help us remember that, don't you? They just do it so authentically. They just help us remember.
Yes, and how powerful. I mean, why do you think the power of pen to paper? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a release that happens. So we have all this energy and these thoughts and these beliefs and these feelings, and it's a release. And then we can become conscious of what the heck we're holding, what we're thinking about. And the other piece is that it's an embodiment tool, so it moves through you. Whereas, you know, with talk therapy, we just kind of sometimes get caught in the story rather than having something move through.
Mm-hmm. So I know for example, my 7-year-old she's now 22, but at the time she was 7. She was struggling with a lot of things, and she was angry, just so angry. And I couldn't figure out where this anger was coming from, this, little girl. And she's just precious to me. And so I actually took her to an energy worker. But what she did with her during that time was she sat her down with a piece of paper and a big thing of crayons. And she drew a heart, and she goes, go, just color, just get it, just color. And that power of just doing that, I mean, she kind of analyzed it and she talked about it, and she, but when I got my daughter back after that session, it was night and day.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So that's just one of the things that I've experienced in that. So did you have an aha moment in your life that you're like opening your eyes to the power of this, or to your purpose in doing this?
I feel like for me, it was when I discovered that there was actually a field of art therapy. It was like, oh wait, this is who I am. Kind of like what you said, we become what we needed. I felt lost for a long time, and people would say, art isn't really a good profession. You can't make money doing art. Mm-hmm. Or they would say, well, you didn't really do well in math, so maybe you could be a social worker. So I just had all these negative connotations associated with the field of helping people and creating. And then when I found this field of art therapy, it just felt so much like all of the experiences in my life had led up to my training, personal and educational, my training to become who I am. And then, having clients come in time and time again, and having that, well, kind of like what you talked about with your daughter, those experiences of really holding space for people just to kind of meet the truth. I guess that's when I knew that I was where I needed to be. It just felt completely like who I was. And helping people find who they were,
What was it continuously obvious? Like once you found that, were you just like, okay, I'm in it, and there was no question?
Definitely.
Okay. I love that. Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to find my way. There's not many of us in Maine. But, as the years have gone on, look, here I am. I'm on a live thing that's going across who knows where. It's like you just kind of trust who you are and that you're doing what you need to be doing, and then the opportunities come.
The opportunity, I love that. Just trust in who you are. How do you get to that point that you're able to trust who you are and what you do?
Yes, a lot of work, a lot. So the cool thing about going to school to become a therapist in general, especially an art therapist, is that you have to do all the work yourself first. And so I had no idea what I was in for when I signed up. I thought, oh, we'll do some drawings and it'll be fun. And it's really profoundly deep work. And so I'm still going through a lot of new awarenesses and shifts, but I guess that's how I got there, is I just keep doing the work. I keep showing up. So anything that I do with anybody else, I always do myself first, and I embody myself first. And it's a continual process of learning and growth. And it's almost like when I'm working with people, I feel like I'm only a few steps ahead of them on the journey, but maybe that's all they needed, was just somebody a little bit farther ahead.
Yeah. And often with me, somehow I'm attracting those people who I've just been through
exactly.
Right. And so I'm like, I was just there. Okay. Let's
like yesterday. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. And which is really cool and really scary at the same time.
I know. I remember thinking, when am I going to have arrived and just know that I know what I need to know? And, I just keep being reminded that this is just a journey we're all on together. And because we've just been through something, that's helping somebody else. And, we have people in our lives that are just a step ahead of us and helping us. And that's the journey,
And that is the journey. I had a voice teacher who was actually my mom's mentor, and then I got to study with her, which was really kind of a cool generational thing.
Oh,
But she really infused in my mom as well as me to be learning, to be a life learner. Don't be scared or shut yourself off from learning. And I think the greatest learning that we can have is to learn about ourselves,
so
right?
true. I feel like everything gives us that opportunity, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Truly. And I'm a huge proponent of journaling, um, for for that reason. So I can just get my thoughts out, and it doesn't even have to be, coherent, as long as all the jumble that's in my head is just getting out. And I feel like that's what art can do for us as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what have been some of your greatest hurdles,
Hmm.
and how have you overcome them?
These are some really good questions. Let's see. My greatest hurdles. I feel like probably it was just finding my way. So not always having, so I was just saying we always need somebody kind of a step ahead of us, I feel. I didn't really always have those people in my life, so I had to kind of find them. And I feel like I did a lot of finding like imaginary supports, like people that exist in the world that I didn't know personally, but that inspired me in some way. And then along the way, I would just openly ask people, would you be my mentor? I remember driving to like Massachusetts to meet with this speaker that I had met once. And I did ask her, if she'd be my mentor. And so I think that was the hardest thing, is just not everybody comes into the world with like parents or family that can teach them more than what they know. And or I don't know if this makes any sense. So I just feel like that was a hurdle starting out, was just finding the people um, that were inspirational to me and that felt like what I had something to learn from them. So finding the right teachers, I guess. But once I found them, I knew it was the right teacher because every cell in my body felt the truth of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you feel that alignment,
Yeah.
right? You feel completely, when you're with somebody that, and I just had the opportunity of interviewing one of mine who I saw him speak just like you. And I was like, I've got to work with him. It was just that, like a light around. It was that alignment, knowing that they have something to offer that you need so that you can move forward. And
Yes.
being open to do that, I think and searching for those opportunities really, I know it helps me figure out even deeper who I am. Like us finding each other,
Right.
just that initial conversation we had was just, I came away from there going, oh, I just felt clearer on who I was because of your lighting.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love how we mirror ourselves back to each other, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, okay, here's another question. What do you consider to be your greatest accomplishment?
Oh man, these are such good questions. These are like at the end of your life reviewing, like, all right, what um my greatest accomplishment, I feel, is having found myself and found my truth. I remember years of just not knowing how to make a decision, or not knowing how to trust, not knowing what was in my head or what was intuition. So finding discernment, finding my center.
I love that. Can you expound on that a little bit, on the journey that it took you, and what that means to, because I think so often trusting who we are, trusting that inner voice and that intuition is a really hard thing. Um,
Yes, I feel like so much of our world is has been about go, 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 goals and busy, busy, busy. And we're at this weird time right now, especially where the world is literally like taking a pause. And I'm kind of enjoying the pace of it in some ways. But I feel like because I had creativity as my friend, it was comfortable for me. I was able to take time. I kind of found my own way to meditate and to pray through my art. And so it helped me to, like, as I was creating, and it wasn't about creating something pretty, it was just doing something. Then, thoughts would pop into my head or feelings would come. It's like almost like I gave myself the space to allow other senses to come in beyond just my thinking mind. And then I took time to be with my feelings and kind of let them teach me and shift and move through me so that I could make a clear choice, because it wasn't coming from my head. It was coming from my heart. So I guess I had to find a way to live more from my heart, and then my head would help me to know how to do it, but my heart made the choices, my feelings.
That heart-head connection, that's when I know that it's truly inspired, right? I'm not just acting on my emotion, and I'm not just acting on my head, but when those are connected, it's like, okay, now move forward. And that's when the magic happens.
Exactly.
So as a therapist, but have you taken somebody and helped them through that process of kind of a meditation through art?
Yes, every day.
Is that what you do? I love that.
Yeah, a big part of it is just helping people find a daily practice that feels comfortable. So I have them try different materials, and sometimes it's not even the art that you would think. It may be something that they do that isn't anything we do can be an art. So it's really just helping people find what feels authentic to them and making that a conscious daily practice, and then staying with it, because that will help you to find your center if you have that space.
Yeah, that is so good. So what advice would you give for somebody who's just starting out or just trying to figure out, they're at a crossroads and they're trying to figure out who they are and what their purpose is and where they are going?
I mean, what I always recommend is make space to do that work. So it could be a space in your home or a time. I feel like a lot of us have that right now. And for me, I always recommend, a lot of people laugh at me. They'll say, I haven't touched art supplies in like 30 years, And so I'll say, go online, buy yourself, don't do the crayons. Get some chalk pastels, maybe some oil pastels, maybe some watercolors, whatever feels comfortable. But a lot of times I do recommend like chalk pastels or oil pastels, because you can't do a lot of details, but you can get the essence out. And just get some paper and just maybe put a little music on and just kind of just allow colors to come onto the paper and be present to what comes. I guess that's the work. It's whether you're doing art or whatever else it is make space to be present, to allow the really heavy stuff to come, but also space to bring in the other perspective. So like the ability to, as we're creating, we are able to kind of shift out of the emotion of where we're at, the stuck energy. And then we have like a witness perspective where we rise above like an eagle and we can see the bigger picture. And so just the act of like smearing colors on the paper and being really present, new awarenesses will come. And so you may take your paper and kind of chuck it in the trash, or, it's a process. It's not about the product. It's about just making space to do it. So it could be that, could be cooking, it could be whatever, working in the garden.
Yeah, what resonated with me just then was it's a process. So it's not about the end result when you're using art in this medium, when you're using it to meditate or to out. It's not about creating an end piece, right? It could be
it could be the seed of, like this one I made to represent, my solar plexus chakra, the
Which I love.
authenticity. So
Yeah.
it could be a seed that you do create an anchor with. So I also have people, so a lot of our process work is just learning to allow the authentic, raw truth to be seen. Once it's seen, then you can make a conscious decision moving forward. But I do have people do a lot of work around creating a visual anchor that they hang in their home or they put in their meditation space, that you create it with intent and you align with the energy of it. And it reminds, kind of like how you and I reflected that bright light back to each other. It reflects the truth back to you. That, because I feel like when we're meditating or we're having these, deeper spiritual experiences that feel so true, it's so easy to go back to your daily life and kind of forget about them. So it's like that little reminder.
I agree. I love that. And I think that is a perfect little transition into doing a little bit, because I'm itching. I'm like, I want to create. I want to, I want to get this out. So would you take us through a little?
I will. So yeah, I thought today I would just kind of guide you through an example of something you could do. I remember when I was training in grad school, I had binders of ideas and directives. And so in art therapy, there's directive and non-directive approaches. The non-directive is you take the materials, you get the paper, you just allow whatever needs to come. A directive approach, which I'll guide you through right now, gives you like some structure and a kind of a guideline. But in art therapy, there's no right or wrong. So you can give yourself a guideline, but then you don't want to attach too much to the outcome. So whatever emerges is just right. So it's okay if whatever I guide you with today, if it kind of opens a door for something else to come through. So another piece before I get started is there's often a lot of fear around creating. A lot of us have been traumatized around, not getting an A in art class and starting to compare yourself like in junior high with the kids that could draw good. And so art is another way to just consciously practice self-love. It's like holding gentle love for yourself as you allow yourself to be whole. And self-compassion is just mindfulness and remembering our common humanity. You're human just like everybody else, and you're deserving of healing and love just like everybody else. I find a lot of people see strengths in other people but not in themselves. And so I guess it's a gentle and subtle process. So I'm going to kind of guide you in a little visualization and a story. And as you move forward, you can find your own little ways to do this. There's a lot of little like art therapy technique books that you could, I guess the point is don't attach too much to what I'm telling you. Let it be whatever comes for you.
Already, we haven't even started, but I'm already getting ideas of who I am. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
this is what, like, already as you're talking, ideas are popping. So I'm so excited. Okay.
I love it. Yeah. So the cool thing about art is there's a lot of power in a container. So this art is helps us to direct our intent. Intent is clear, focused energy. We're going to be talking about that in the visualization, and the materials allow it to move through you, and then the paper will kind of be a container for your intent. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say. So on your own, feel free to pause the video as we're doing this. Use whatever materials you want to use. For today, Heather and I are going to be using, just pen and paper just to kind of practice. I do have some pastels. Some people like to do this with paint and do a lot of layers. Whatever inspires you. Okay, so I'm going to have you close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, I will just speak. Take a deep breath in until it almost hurts to breathe any deeper. Then you're going to breathe down through your body, all the way down through the soles of your feet, down into the earth. And I really wanted to talk today about planting and nurturing the seeds of self-love. So we have an opportunity right now where it is spring. and there's sunshine, and there are new buds starting to burst forth, and it's time of new beginnings and of hope. You know, we're coming out of a time of winter, and um, we're really more than ever in a time of unknown right now, which can feel really unsettling, but it does seem kind of divinely aligned with the season of new beginnings. Because in order to grow the new, we have to allow the old to die away, just like it does in the fall time. And so what we've been talking about is allowing old patterns and old beliefs to die away. Because if we can do this consciously, these can become the rich soil that we can plant our seeds and allow new roots to grow in a new way. All right, so you could take another deep breath in through your nose. And I'm going to have you breathe out, but this time as you breathe out, I'd like you to breathe out through your heart center. I'd like you to imagine that if your heart was a flower, maybe a flower bud, as you breathe out, it just opens wide. And if you notice any resistance in your body to opening your heart, just want you to kind of just notice it, be aware of it, and gently and lovingly bring your awareness to the resistance. Maybe breathe into it. Take another breath. Remind yourself that you're safe and allow your heart to open a little bit wider. And I'd like you to bring your awareness to the golden color of the beautiful sunrise on a spring morning. So imagine that you're that little flower and the sunrise is coming up. And as it comes up, you feel the warmth on your face. And you're going to take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, you're going to breathe in through your heart. And you're going to breathe in that golden, vibrant sunrise energy. It's going to come through your entire body. It's going to come up into your head. And you can just feel the high vibration of it. It's just going to beam out of your eyeballs and your ears and your mouth. And it just continues expanding out your arms and out your fingertips. And beams down through your body and down through your legs and out through your toes. And for a moment, I'd just like you to bring your awareness to any places in your body that you feel any heaviness, any physical or emotional pain. You're just going to allow the golden sunrise to shine light on that. Just allow it to kind of burn it away. Time of renewal and releasing the old heavy stuff, cobwebs. And what I'd like you to do is, again, just keep your awareness in your heart area open and receptive. And maybe smile a little bit and be amused that we are doing this today. And I'd like you to allow an intent to arise. It could arise in your mind as a thought. It could arise as a feeling. It could be an image in your head. But allow an intent as far as what you would like to plant in your heart, what you would like to plant in your life moving forward. Just allow a word or a phrase or an image or a feeling. As you continue to breathe in and out of your heart space, just feel it expanding more and more. And feel the truth that you are worthy of planting this seed in your own heart. And the truth is that it can actually only be planted by you. So I'd just like you to take a moment and feel that truth. Maybe playing with the possibility that you might believe that you are worthy of being happy and being more connected to yourself and the world around you than ever before. So with your breath in, I'd like you to imagine planting this intent deep within your heart. and allowing yourself to receive it. And trusting that it will blossom when the time is right. Because if you think of plants, they need nurturing and love and attention and sunlight and water, but really they blossom in their own time. So trusting that when the time is right, you'll start to see the fruits from this seed. So I'm going to have you take another deep breath in. And as you do, I'd like you to imagine your stem starting to grow upward from your heart. Just notice what color little sprout is. Might be a typical color, but it might be a color you've never seen before. And I'd like you to take a moment and imagine, as you continue breathing upward, imagine this flower from your heart blossoming into its full expression, expanding bigger and bigger toward the sun. And just notice what color the petals are, if they're all the same or if they're different. It might be a flower you've seen before or something you've never seen. You might even notice if there's something in the center of your flower. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to rub your legs, rub your cheeks. We're going to come back to this room. I'm going to have you open your eyes when you're ready. But as you're creating, I'd like you to practice keeping this expanded, open-hearted feeling. And hold the intent that you've planted in your heart. And I'd like you to plant on the paper and create the full expression of your heart. For today, we're going to have about 5 minutes to do this, maybe even 3. We're going to take a few moments. Heather, I'm going to, as your guide, I'd just like you to let us know when you're done, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, but everybody else can pause the video and create. And again, we're just going for the essence. This is not probably going to go on the mantle. When you do feel like you have expressed your heart flower, I'd like you to also just allow a title or a phrase to come and just write it somewhere on the paper. There may have been other words that came, and that's okay.
I wrote it while you were talking because something really spoke to me. And so as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's what it already is. But for me, it was make space to be creative. And I make space to create. And for me, like a physical space as well as a time space, as well, you know, there are lots of ways we can make space in our hearts to create. You know what I mean? That just really spoke to me.
I
So,
love that, making space in your own heart.
yeah.
Is that what your intent was?
Subconsciously, I think that's exactly that's what my subconscious intent was, for sure. To give time for me, to give space for me in my life, and give space to create and space to bloom, blossom, right? I mean, that's what I saw. I just saw myself just blooming. So here's my little rendition. It's very light.
Ah, yeah.
And I want to dive in. I want color because I see it
Mhm.
in multiple colors and just vibrant colors fading into some pastels and yeah.
Oh,
So.
I love that because it's like, as you're talking about the color, I can tell you can feel it. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely highly recommend working with color. I'll show you mine. This is just pastels, and it was just the essence, but you can see like in a few minutes you can get the feeling, and Heather's had, I could feel the openness of yours. And what'll happen is with color, and colors are vibration, colors are energy. Um, and so this can be a meditation to create, but then it can be something that you sit with. And I made sure, so my title was just beautiful growth. And I feel like it was just kind of accepting. It made me think of flowers. You don't see them competing for who's the prettier flower. They're just who they are. And they all reach up to the sun and they all drink from the same, earth. And, and so for me, I wanted to add in the soil because it kind of, I feel like for my meditations, it will help me to also meditate on the old patterns and beliefs that I'm ready to let go of. So I may even start another page where I start to kind of write that into the soil, and just being thankful for what I have been through, even all my mistakes, because I needed them to be able to grow and expand. And
I love that.
yeah, my hope is that you can take this visualization to whatever level you want to, but practice just being open for the rest of your life. Nothing too heavy, right?
No, so I know we are past time, but for mine, as my vision was a branch, and as opposed to ground, right? My vision was this was coming from a tree, and I feel as you're talking, my inner sense is that growth and making space, but it is that reaching beyond myself.
Mm.
So as you were talking, I was like, oh, that's why I envisioned this branch.
So yours may be a tree.
Yeah.
Your seed.
Yeah. Just which is growing and reaching beyond my trunk, beyond maybe my safety,
I love that.
So anyway, that was beautiful. Thank you
Yay.
so much. I hope you enjoyed this like I did today. Again, thank you, Bodhi Simpson. And do you have a gift that you are offering?
I do. So when you click on the link, you'll be led to, kind of looks like my blog, but when you enter your email in there, I will send you a guide with just more creative exercises to connect to your own self-compassion, to grow your own self-compassion through creativity. So again, it will be suggestions, some tools and tips, but feel free to take it, whatever inspires you, go with that.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to just dive in and really make that space and love, like you said at the beginning, giving myself a chance to really love myself. And so thank you again.
I love seeing you sitting there like this. I can tell you're doing it right now.
My heart is full. I hope you feel the same way that I do, because this was just beautiful. I can't think of another word. What a great way. And you can come back to it, right?
Exactly.
Again. All right. Hope you have a blessed day, and truly thank you for joining us. And thank you one more time to Bodhi Simpson. Have a great day and live authentically. Bye-bye.